Good morning from Dodge City. It is not absolutely terribly hot this morning. I mean, I would say it's probably 85, but it's a little cloudy outside, and I'm sitting here with my toad friend. I wonder if he's that kind that if you lick. Who in the world would have done that first? You ever think about that? Who was the first guy that went, I'm gonna lick that toad? Yeah, I'm not gonna lick you, buddy. We're getting packed up. It's about 8 o'clock in the morning. We're gonna try to get a couple 100 miles in before the heat kills us. I would love to spend more time walking around Dodge City, but yesterday it was 108 degrees when we stopped. No air conditioning in that baby. As my dad would say, it's got 255, two windows down at 55 miles an hour. Hey, where you going? What? Don't be famous? Yeah. Hope you guys like the episode better than he does. Turn your back on me. Clouds. Okay, we're going to hit the road. It is not 1,000 degrees today. It is just hot, which we can live with hot.
But there's clouds.
And there's clouds. So where are we headed to?
Beaumont, Kansas.
Beaumont, Kansas. A couple 100 miles to another air conditioner. And then after that, we might think about camping again.
We're staying at an old stagecoach railroad stop.
Cool. Alrighty. Well, let's hit the road. Well, I'll give you the short version. Apparently, in 48, a rancher asked if he could land a plane on Main Street in Beaumont so he could check on his cattle. I'm thinking that's Main Street right there. And they said yes, because it would be interesting, and then it became kind of like a tradition that people would fly in here and eat and land on Main Street when people heard you could. So the owner of the hotel put a landing strip in so people could fly in here and eat and visit the little town. And people still do it today. I don't think this one's been in the air in a long time. Good morning from the Beaumont Hotel in Beaumont, Kansas. Very cool little place. It's out of the way, but it's not too far off the road we were on. Got us a room for the night. I think it's about $110 after taxes, something like that. Great people. Been sitting around last night and chatted. The little town has an airstrip just out back of the hotel. And apparently people fly in their planes from all over to go eat here at the Beaumont restaurant. So we've decided to stay a couple days in the air conditioning and get off the road for a couple of days and rest up. We came through Kansas, like I said, and it was 108 degrees one day and in the hundreds every other day for the last 3 or 4 days. And it's just been a lot. So we're gonna take a couple days of rest and enjoy the quiet hospitality of Beaumont, Kansas. A 1948 Tourette sitting here next to the hotel for sale. It would look good behind Nugget, but I like mine. This one is very cool. After a day of rest, we decided to drive over to a neighboring town. We had heard that they had prime rib at their little restaurant, so we took a nice ride, a little dirt road therapy, as my wife likes to say. Just cruising along. Ended up in a wind generator farm, which was pretty amazing. And just a nice chill afternoon. I don't think there's anything quieter than rural Kansas. Saturday morning at the Beaumont Hotel, and there's been airplanes landing and taxiing up to the hotel all day. If you're ever in Kansas, this is definitely a must stop if you're here on a weekend. So very cool. The runway is down that way, down 116th Avenue or something. Anyway, there's a sign about where that's at that says planes only from this point. But the planes just, well, the planes and the cars share the road is what they do. Ah, look who we ran into. Deborah and Walter and their sweet traveler. So we met Deborah and Walter at the Rocky Mountain Rendezvous, and they were headed back to Florida. And we'd been keeping in touch, and they were trying to get out of the heat just like we were. So we told them about the Beaumont Hotel's air conditioning and the restaurant, and so they decided to stop by for a night. And after a great meal and a cold drink or two, we were back on the road. We separated shortly after leaving because, like I said, they were headed to Florida and we were headed a little more northeast. So it was good to see them. And I'd encourage any of you guys traveling through the area, give the Beaumont Hotel a try. That place was a well-needed rest for a couple of days. Okay, it's been hot. It's been hot, hot, hot. It was 104 yesterday. The Scout, it's hot. We get up, we have breakfast. Can't leave too early because we can't check into the next place too early. So you end up driving during the middle of the day. But this morning, we're leaving early. The next place we're headed to, the forecast says it will only be in the 90s today. So our hope is that it's cooling off. I don't think I would ever be excited for 90 degree temperatures, but that would be awesome. At least 10 degrees cooler. Scout's going fine. A little bit more noise in the transmission. I need to check that oil down there again. It could just be that it's getting hot. You know, the oil's thinning out and there's just a little more noise, but you know, it's all good. Anyway, we stayed, I have no idea where we stayed. We just crossed into Missouri and we are headed to another place in Missouri. We're just chugging. We expected this would be way more, let's go camping to this place and that place and see this and that, but it's just too bloody hot. So we're trying to get, our goal is to get to a place called Land Between the Lakes. Forecast there says it'll be a little cooler. And then we'll pick up camping again. Land Between the Lakes, and then I think we're going to go to Mammoth Cave, Kentucky, and then we're going to ride the Appalachian Mountains up. If you're from anywhere else in the world, you call them something else, but I'm telling you, as an individual who's lived there my whole life, those are called the Appalachian Mountains. Myself. I never thought I'd be excited for a 94-degree forecast, but I am. So we got up early this morning. We're gonna hit the road. Right, April? Right. She's loading it up and we are running for the hills. Still sticking. I got like that much more, so I can get to Virginia. Well, that seems to have worked. I don't know where the sticky point is, but it's in there. It's crazy as I'm sitting here doing it and I look up and I see this. I don't know who they are, but if I lived here, I would ask for a family discount. And I recommend if you go to them for all your asphalt needs in Springfield, Missouri. Is that where we are? I don't know where we are.
Republic.
Oh, Republic, Missouri, which I think is near Springfield, right? Mm-hmm. All right, yeah. All right, let's hit the road. After a day of traveling, fighting the throttle and the heat, we found us a place to eat lunch that wasn't too far away from our next bed and breakfast. Honestly, we've been a little disappointed in this part of the trip because the heat has just stopped us from doing a whole lot of exciting things and the camping is almost unbearable. But we found us a nice little bed and breakfast and I'm going to spend the afternoon trying to find the sticky point in the throttle linkage, which is still giving me trouble. I'm afraid to say I believe it's probably time for a carburetor rebuild. So the throttle is still sticking. So I took all of the linkage apart and individually tested each piece. And as it turns out, if I disassemble everything, the arm, what's it called, the valve, the flap, it falls all the way down. I hold it up by hand, start the motor, and the vacuum keeps it sucked up. And I can slide it down, push down a little bit, and it just stays in one spot. There's nothing sticking. Everything's working right. So I adjusted where my spring is and made it a little tighter to see if that will fix it. I don't know what the deal is. And now my pliers are broken. My really, really, really old pliers. But they're the only ones thin enough to fit in that little hole to put it back together. Anyway, so now I'm just putting it all back together. And we will see. If what I did makes any difference at all. Well, all of that, and it's still sticking. I don't know. It's like there's so much vacuum in my motor that it is pulling this part that way so tightly on that pivot point that it holds it in place. It probably needs a rebuild to block the air from coming through that area, maybe a seal. I think that's what it is. I've unhooked everything. And with the motor running, it'll hold it there. And if I slide it down, it'll hold it there. And if I slide it down, it'll hold it there. It doesn't drop. It also doesn't return back when the spring isn't on it. But when the spring is on it, it still won't return back. It is pulled so tight at that pivot point against I don't know. When it sticks, I flow to the gas and it usually lets go, but it has been steadily getting worse. And I still have 2 weeks till harvest or homecoming. I try to spray that with graphite and grease and any number of things, and it usually helps. Silicone lubricant. And it helps for a while until the heat of the engine kind of burns it off or dries it out or whatever. But the last few times it hasn't helped a whole lot. It's just slowly getting worse. Well, I've been up this morning working on the throttle spring issue again, the return. And this is what I've come up with. Okay, so I kept laying in bed thinking, I know I'd ordered springs, and I looked and looked and looked finally in the camper, and I finally found them. So I put those springs on. I had a little bracket that I had in a box and put it in place to attach the spring to. It looked like it would work fine. Should work a lot better than what I had, and still it sticks. So I've resorted to putting my screen door spring back on as well. And now all 3 springs seem to have enough to keep it from sticking too bad. So I know it is a screen door spring, and obviously that isn't a good thing, but I am in Missouri, and it is what I have. So it is what is on there. I think I might just need a new 1904 carb, is what's on it, or a 1920. I'm not sure what the difference is. If you know the difference between the two, put it in the comments. I'll do a little research, see if I can figure it out. I know that the 800s typically came with the 1920 single barrel, and I've had a 1904 because it is what I found at the time. So I know that there are some upgrades you can do, but then you have to change the throttle, the gas pedal, the whatever, and that's not something I can do on the road. So I won't be doing that anytime soon. I could order a carb and have it sent to a campground that we will be going to up in Fort Wayne, Indiana to pick it up, but I'm not sure what to do other than try my screen door spring. Something else I've discovered while sitting here. Can you see them? All this time I thought I had, right there on the lip. I thought I had grounds, coffee grounds in my mouth. Turns out, just ants from sitting my coffee cup down. Good thing is when you don't wear glasses and you need them, and it's up close. Just pretend it's coffee grounds. It wasn't long after we left the bed and breakfast that morning that we found ourselves here, cruising along at about 5 miles an hour in the emergency lane. I'm using the choke to give it enough throttle to make it run. So we are moving, but I'm worried about the little hill there in the distance. That won't be well. And then we were going through a cloverleaf intersection, and the throttle just quit working. Nothing I could do with my foot would make any difference whatsoever. But the motor was still idling, and it still sounded okay. So I left it in gear and pulled out slightly on the choke, which gives it a little bit of gas, and kept it chugging along. We actually went through 2 leaves of a cloverleaf intersection trying to get to a gas station that I could see in the distance. Come on, baby, you can do it. Stay. All right, we're good. We get to the top of the hill, we're okay. All right. I'm not exactly sure how that throttle. What's this car here for? Please don't leave me. All right. I don't think we'll make this. Ooh. Maybe. Okay. We'll go past it and in on the upside. Sure hoping to find shade. I'll take what I can get. I got to pull the throttle out. Okay, well, we're off the highway. Now we will, I don't know. Ooh, the engine's warm. So after spending a little time pushing and pulling on the throttle linkage and looking under the Scout, I realized that the linkage was all intact. Everything I had worked on at the bed and breakfast the night before was all still there in good order with the springs and everything. But the throttle, when you press the throttle inside the Scout, it did not translate to any movement outside the Scout. So from where I was sitting, it looked like something had happened with the bar that goes from the gas pedal out. Spoiler, had I known what I was looking for, I probably would not have had to remove the throttle. Okay, so what happened is the pin, what do you call those, a roll pin, I think it is, that holds this in place when you mash this, had come out. So when you mash this, this doesn't move, which doesn't do the carburetor. Now, let's see if I can find a roll pin or a nail and put that back together. And it is thundering.
There's an enormous black cloud over us. I actually found a roll pin in a jar of nuts and bolts and parts that I brought with me. So when you match the pedal, this was spinning, but not making the arm. So now I've got that driven back in. Got a roll pin in it. I have a punch. I think I'm gonna hit inside that roll pin to expand it slightly on both ends, and maybe that will not come out again. Who knows? One on both sides. In the hole. Might help. This is one part of the Scout I don't think I'd ever had out before. So now, that spring on that, you know, while I have it here, I'm going to oil inside of that and see if that'll help with the stickiness inside there. All right, I think I got it. Both bolts on the fuel, I think I got it. Both bolts on the accelerator where it bolts to the wall had stripped, but I had brought a handful of extra bolts from from this Scout, another Scout, the other Scout in Alaska. One up here I'd taken some parts off of. Anyway, I got it back on. It seems to be working. So if I can get a little of this off the dirt, I think we can go inside and get a cold drink. All right, so about an hour delay. New shirt. Got some of the dirt off my neck and my arm and my back. Small Diet Coke.
Bucket of Coke.
Tub of, oddly enough, not the smallest, not the biggest one in there. There were some pretty big tubs in there, but I opted for the. I'm
gonna exercise my kidneys today. That's what he's gonna do.
Anyway,
Bladder.
it's only like 95 degrees, but the clouds have moved in. A lot of thunder in the distance, but it didn't rain on us while we were working on it. I have a throttle again. So let's hit the road. The throttle is still sticking.
real milestone in the journey as we cross the area where the Ohio River meets the Mississippi River. And we are officially, in my mind, in the East. Be sure and follow along next week. We are headed to a place called Land Between the Lakes, where buffalo and elk run free, and I'm told there are some great backwoods trails, so we're going to check those out. Thank you for following along. Be sure and like and subscribe to the channel, and if you have any questions about what's going on or what you see, please put them in the comments below. We love getting comments along the way. Take care, and we will see you out there on the road.